So this is a story called, this is Beauty Secret. And it lasts over the course of a week. Hi, Gillian. I have my side too. Okay. Okay. Beauty Secret. Wednesday. It was Wednesday. Wednesday was Larry's day off. And it was Fern's day off also. This was no accident. They had gone through considerable contortions to get their days off to coincide. Things got pretty ugly when they went without days off together. Wednesday had come none too soon this week because Fern had already begun to feel pretty hideous. She was sitting across from Larry at the kitchen table. "Let's go upstairs," Larry said. He had 2 wine glasses in one hand and a bottle of wine in the other. Fern knew what he had in mind, the same thing that she had in mind. Why wouldn't she get up from the table? She was too hideous. "Come on," Larry said. Then finally she followed him up the stairs. Late in the afternoon, before the kids came home from school, Fern got out of bed to start dinner. She caught a glimpse of her naked body in the mirror on her way to the bath. It was ivory and sleek. She was beautiful, she realized with pleasure. Her eyes were dark and bright. Her hair fell to her shoulders in gleaming waves. "You're beautiful," Larry said from the bed. "You made me beautiful when you made love to me," Fern said. "No, I made love to you because you were beautiful," Larry said. Fern went cheerfully down the stairs to make dinner. Thursday. When Fern got up in the morning, she went to the sink to wash her face. She could hear the kids squabbling on their way out the door. Larry was already downstairs making the coffee. She reached for a towel. There was her face in the mirror. It was almost beautiful. She brushed her hair, and it fell in almost perfect waves around her shoulders. When she went to her closet, the second outfit she tried on looked pretty good on her. She went downstairs and drank her coffee with Larry. They both read the newspaper. She didn't have quite enough time to finish either before it was time to leave for work. They left the house saying, "I love you," and went in different directions. On the bus, Fern examined the other women. Some of them were almost as attractive as she was. The sky was a near perfect blue out the bus window. Everything at work went fine. Her colleagues seemed to be looking at her with admiration. Her boss complimented her on her presentation. She stopped at the market on her way home. The cherries were large, firm, and shiny. She tasted one. It was almost bursting with flavor. She brought home a big bag. That night in bed, Fern's legs still felt fairly silky. "I'm so in love with you," Larry said, climbing under the covers and turning his backside to her. In a little while, he was breathing peacefully. He was asleep. Friday. When Fern awoke, Larry was already downstairs making the coffee. She could hear the children laughing in the kitchen, and then the front door slammed as they left for school. She padded to the sink and splashed water on her face. Were those jowls hanging down below her chin? No, it couldn't be. She went to her closet to choose an outfit. The first one she tried on looked terrible, but the second one was okay. Larry was back in the bedroom shaving. "The Osgoods will be here for dinner tonight," Fern reminded him. "I'll try to behave," Larry said. He came up behind her and cuffed her behind. "Get out of here," she said. "I love you," he said, picking up his briefcase. "Love you too," she said, trying to get her hair to do what it always did. It wouldn't. On the bus, there were quite a few women who may have been thinner than she was. Her colleagues at work were a bit irritable. Her boss seemed distracted. She stopped at the market on the way home to get the rest of the produce she needed for her dinner party. The produce was wilted. The Osgoods were boring, and Larry seemed tired. "I just want to finish tidying up," Fern said when they finally had gone. "You go on upstairs." By the time she got upstairs, Larry was asleep. Saturday. They slept late on Saturday morning. Finally, Larry got up and to make the coffee, and Fern went to the sink to splash water on her face. She looked in the mirror. Her hair was standing up in every direction. She had jowls, that was clear, and large pouches under her eyes. She went to the closet. The cute little t-shirt she had planned on wearing made her look fat. She heard Larry coming up the stairs with the coffee. She ripped it off and pulled on a sweatshirt. "Good morning, beautiful," he said. The kids were around all day. Finally, they went off with their friends. Larry came and stood over Fern, where she was weeding in the garden. "Time for a nap," he said. Fern climbed the stairs behind Larry. She avoided the mirror when they entered the bedroom. They started taking off each other's clothes. Then they heard the front door opening and the kids and their friends pouring back into the house. So they buttoned themselves back up again and Larry put on the ball game. Fern went to the sink and looked for her lipstick. After applying a thick smudge, she went back to the garden. She weeded the rest of the day while the kids and their friends played video games in the den. When she got in bed that night, she hoped Larry wasn't expecting anything because she was way too tired. He didn't seem to be. "I love you," he said, giving her a little kiss on the shoulder and turning his back to her back. Sunday. On Sunday, Fern got up first, pulled on Larry's old flannel robe, and went downstairs to make the coffee and get the newspaper. She avoided the mirror, but later, when she was dressing, she hazarded a glance. Her hair was sticking out in all directions. She had jowls, pouches under her eyes, and a roll of fat around her middle. Moreover, her skin had a new pasty look. She pulled on the same sweatshirt as yesterday. There was no point in trying. Larry was getting dressed for his golf game. "I'll be home around 5, beautiful," he said. "Then I'll fire up the barbecue." Fern spent the afternoon at Walmart. The kids played Frisbee late into the evening after the barbecue. There was a great movie on TV that Fern and Larry thoroughly enjoyed, though they both fell asleep before it was over. Monday. Fern spent a long time on Monday morning applying makeup over the red spots that covered her face. She put on a hat to cover her hair and a pair of sunglasses to cover her swollen red eyes. Then she tried on everything in her closet. Everything looked terrible on her. But she was going to be late for work, so she left wearing the last outfit she had tried on under a big coat, although it was quite warm, leaving all her other clothes in a big pile on the floor of her closet. "I won't be home until late," Larry said as he passed through the kitchen. "Board meeting. Wait up for me, okay?" He put his hand on her breast. "I'm late," she said. "I love you," he said. "How do I look?" she asked. "Fantastic," he said. "I can jump you right now." "Hold that thought," she said, and she went out the door. She was by far the most hideous woman on the bus. At the office, her colleagues looked at her with pity. Or was it disgust? Her work was inferior, meaningless, and boring. Finally, they allowed her to leave. She got some takeout on the way home. The kids were overjoyed. She took a long bath and avoided all mirrors. She fell asleep before Larry got home. Tuesday. When Fern got up Tuesday and looked in the mirror, she noticed that her teeth had yellowed overnight. New fine lines had formed around her eyes. Her jowls now had jowls. And where had her chin gone? As she raised her arm to brush her hair, the skin on her upper arm flapped back and forth. Her thighs jiggled as she walked across the floor to get her underwear. She heard Larry coming up the stairs with the coffee and jumped into her closet. She pulled out a sack-like dress from the pile on the floor and pulled it over her head. She couldn't bear the idea of struggling with pantyhose, so she put on some knee-highs and hoped the tops wouldn't show when she sat down. "Why are you wearing that big coat? It's 90 degrees outside," Larry said, as she skirted around him and went for the door. "Stop criticizing me. You don't have any right to criticize me." "I wasn't criticizing you," Larry said. "I just think it's awfully hot for a big coat like that." "You're doing it again," Fern said. "Just stop." "I wasn't doing anything," Larry said. "Just stop it," Fern said. "Why won't you stop?" On the bus, Fern silently dared people to look at her. She stared at them until they looked away. What was the matter with them? Hadn't they ever seen a hideously ugly woman before? At work, Fern hid in her office most of the day, pretending to go over reports, but she couldn't focus on anything. When everyone went to lunch, she didn't go with them. When she got home at night, the kids were in the kitchen. "What's for dinner?" they asked. "Eat whatever you want," Fern said. "I'm not making dinner. I'm off duty tonight." They were already taking out the Cheerios as she left the kitchen. Larry was just coming in the door. "I'm going to bed," she said to him. "Okay," he said. "I can fend for myself." "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, just fine," Fern said, climbing the stairs. She didn't turn on the light when she entered the bedroom. She was afraid of mirrors. When Larry got in bed next to her, she pretended to be asleep. Wednesday. Wednesday came none too soon this week. Fern was feeling pretty hideous. She was sitting across from Larry at the kitchen table. "Let's go upstairs," Larry said. He had 2 wine glasses in one hand and a bottle of wine in the other. Fern knew what he had in mind, the same thing she had in mind. Why wouldn't she get up from the table? She was too hideous. "Come on," Larry said. Then finally she followed him up the stairs. Late in the afternoon, before the kids came home from school, Fern got out of bed to start dinner. She caught a glimpse of her naked body in the mirror on the way to the bath. It was ivory and sleek. She was beautiful, she realized with pleasure. Her eyes were dark and bright, and her hair fell to her shoulders in gleaming waves.